and also it'll build on your efficiency, because cartoons is one thing that you can very quickly create, right? So it makes you a much more faster and much more efficient artist, while also keeping your level of neatness and beauty up. So that's what we're going to focus on mainly today. Okay, we're going to focus on neatness with speed. Now, don't worry, we're not going to rush or anything. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera now. But what we're going to work on mainly today is creating characters using shapes. Okay, using shapes. So the one thing I want all of you to please promise me, please draw lightly. Okay, lightly. Don't press hard into your sheet and all that. Very lightly. Okay, turning the camera now and starting off. Just give me 1 second and done. Okay. So what we're going to start off drawing, right, is we're going to start off with a character I like to draw. It's basically just a kind of like a demon, okay, like a hell demon, right? Some kind of weird creature from hell type of thing. So we're going to try to draw that. Now remember, we're drawing using shapes, using simple shapes to guide us and help us out. So you start off really lightly. And we start off with just understanding what the shape of everything is. So over here, I'm going to start off by making a kind of rectangle. Okay? Kind of rectangle. Okay, like a tilted rectangle, like this. Okay. Now, in front of this rectangle, not behind, okay, not behind, in front of the rectangle, I want you to keep a kind of oval, like this, in front of it. Okay. Now, behind this rectangle, I want you to make another sort of very simple shape like this, like an egg shape, but behind, okay, like that. Basically, what we're doing is just visualizing the shape of everything. That's all. Okay. Now going to the face. First of all, I'm removing this just so that we don't get confused. Okay. This oval is in front of the rectangle. Okay. Let's come down here now to the rectangle. And now this is of course the face. Okay. Now this is kind of like a monster or a demon kind of thing that is turning back and looking at us. Okay. It's a very sort of dynamic position. It's sitting on something and it's turning back and looking over its shoulder at us. So here, I'll start off by making the center of the face, which is here. Basically, where the nose will be, where the lip will be, all of that. That's the center of the face. Okay. And then I'll make the eye line, which is this. Nose line, which is here. Okay, and then the rest will go ahead with after a bit. Okay, so if this is the eye line, then that means that I can put the eyebrows just above, right? So I'll just make a very angry kind of forehead like this. One here and one just till about there. Okay, don't go more than that. Now the nose I'll keep really short. So I'll do one nostril here and one nostril there. Like that. Here I'll just make a little cheekbone type of thing. And the eye right there. One eye over there, and we can do another one over there. Now the nose is here, so I'll do the mouth somewhere over here. Since we pulled the nose up so high, right? We'll just do the mouth somewhere over here itself. Something like this. Now, inside this mouth, we're going to make a lot of teeth. So let's start making some teeth. Okay, make teeth individually, different sizes, different types, like that. Even some bottom rows of teeth. Not too many. Don't overdo it. Just some. Okay. So now we have eyes, nose, mouth, right? So now let's start actually making the shape of the head. Okay. But I'll just leave this here just for a few seconds so that you can finish copying anything that you need to copy, and then we'll move ahead. If you have any doubts or questions, please put it in the chat. Okay. Now, moving ahead, I'm going to now start making the shape of the head itself, right? So first of all, I want a big sort of forehead. So this forehead here, no, is quite big. So it has to be big on the other side also. It can't be small on one side, right? So I make a big sort of brow ridge like that. Then a big cheekbone like that. And then see, we're using shapes to help our character building, right? So I'm going to follow this rectangle shape itself. More or less follow the rectangle shape itself like this to create our character. Okay. Now here, how many of you know Hellboy? You guys have heard of Hellboy, right? So the movie Hellboy, the character from comics. So this is kind of inspired from that. In that basically Hellboy has two massive, horns on top of his head, but they're like sawed off. They're kind of cut off. Over here, nothing is cut off. It's there. It's the horns are still there. So I want you to start off by making a kind of semicircle here, and another one right here. Okay, and then you just draw one massive tusk-like horn, like that, and another massive tusk-like horn like that. I hope everybody is keeping in mind to draw like, because sometimes mistakes happen, sometimes you need to modify something, and at that time you wish that you were drawn lighter. So just draw light for now. Only you need to be able to see it, not anybody else. Okay. Okay, so we have a nice head kind of ready here. Except I think we'll make like a nice sort of ear. Now, one thing I want you all to remember, okay, wherever the eye line is, the same place the ear line should be. Okay, that's a rule that you need to follow for cartoons as well as realistic figures. Wherever the eye line is where the ear line should also be. So I'm just making a kind of funny, weird bat ear type of thing. And also, one thing in any kind of, whenever you're making expressions, right? Any kind of character with expressions, never forget to put these cheek lines. See, just from the nostril, no, we have these cheek lines. Never forget those. They really, really help with expressions. See, look how much better that looks already. Now, even for the lower lip, I'll just put a little bit of a line there. Okay. And the head is pretty much ready. Okay. So I think now you're starting to understand how this is supposed to be, right? This is basically a creature sitting somewhere and turning back and looking over the shoulder. So this is the shoulder. This is the shoulder. Okay. Again, I'll just give you all a minute just to kind of finish the face. If there are any details, lines, or anything that you need to draw in, and then we'll get going with the shoulder. Okay, now just going to finish the edge of the eye here. All right. So the shoulder muscle basically can be kind of divided into two parts. Okay, one is, so we'll do a shape inside a shape. So one is the main region here. Okay, this is one. And then this is another. Like that. Okay, you see how this line comes a little more further ahead than this one. Okay, that's on purpose. So try and keep it that way itself. And then here. I'll just let this line come down. This is the tricep muscle, okay? Not to get too technical or anything, but that's what that is. And then over here, right, we'll have the elbow. So now the arm is folded, okay? The arm is totally folded inward. So we won't see the whole arm. But I'll just do a circle here and a line going that way. Okay, circle here and just a line heading that in that direction, back up that way. So now I can easily just draw a kind of point around. Now this line going this way, just make another oval there, lightly, very lightly. And just make the forearm disappear behind the bicep like that. That's it. Okay. Now we come to this. Now this is the back, right? This is the back. So I'm just going to make a few muscles here on the back. One like this, one next to it like that. Okay. And now you see this shape here, right? This egg shape that we made. Let's imagine there's another egg shape behind it, okay? So I'll just make another copy of the same thing like that. You saw what I did? This egg shape that we made earlier, right? That same thing, I'm just making another copy like as if there's a duplicate behind it. Exactly the same. So now what we have is the other side of the back. So I'll just make, just so that it doesn't look so perfectly smooth, right? I'll just make a kind of dip over here like that. Okay, so now it looks like the shoulder blades are matching, right? This one and that one. And we come down here. Okay, so cool. That's ready. Okay, now down here, I'll just make two lines like this. And what I'll also do is I'll make one sort of thing here, almost like as if this creature used to have wings, but it's kind of torn off. One there, and the other one here. Okay, make sure it's round at the bottom, and kind of torn up at the top, like as if it lost a battle or something, you know. You can draw it in whichever way you want. I'll leave that part up to you. Like however, you know, however you want to do it, you can do it. Okay, now the neck I'll do here. Okay, don't make the mistake of making the neck too thin or narrow. It needs to be right here, like this, and it goes from behind the ear, like this. The jaw will be here, like that. Okay. Now, I'm going to make some spikes running down the back. Okay. This. Now, what you can do, right, to make it a simpler task, is to just first make small little curves going all the way down like this. So you already have the spacing ready. That. And then just start drawing it out. however you want to. If you want to make it go from big to small, you can do that. Or if you want to make it all different sizes, you can do that also. Okay. Now, let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, so this is what this looks like now. Okay, so now I want to show it sitting on something. Okay, so I want to show its legs also kind of folded up. So what I'll do is first let's just draw it in stick figure form, totally in stick figure form. So from here, we just do one line like this. Okay, that's from the thigh to the knee, and then the knee till the ankle. And then one long sort of foot, which we'll do later. Okay. Now again, using shapes, just using shapes. First, we make a kind of oval here. That's for the hip and the butt and all of that, right? Nice big oval there. I don't want you drawing all small ovals and all. Okay, give this even a nice big butt. Then another oval here. That's for the thigh. You can make this kind of like an egg shape, like that. And for the calf, you can do something like this. Okay, just another shape like that. So you can see how you can just build basically anything with just just using simple shapes like this. You can just build whatever you want, whatever character it is that comes to your mind. Now here I'll just create some kind of I want the character to have some sort of some kind of uniform or a warrior type of look to it. So we'll start off by giving it some kind of a belt sort of thing. We can detail that later. Some kind of a belt type of thing. And then make sure to go in the exact shape of the basic shapes we've made. Like that. And like this. Arunima Giri, very nice. Really, really good work. It looks fantastic. It's coming out really well. Really like how it's coming out. Great job. Okay, now here I'll just draw, certain things like the pants being a little bit torn up over here. Just some strings of the pant there, and you can even do the same thing here also, like just frayed, like as if it's frayed, something like that. Okay, Now, since this is, a completely, fantasy based artwork, you don't have to be very accurate with the muscles or bones or anything. So the feet we can just do whatever how you want. So what I'll do is here, so that it doesn't look like he's floating on anything, I'll just put like a rock here or something, like as if he's been sitting on some rocks. Okay, now here's the fun part. So you do a line like this till here, okay, and since it is completely fantasy based, right? You can really be very, very sort of creative with this. You can make the feet kind of literally like a crow's feet, with each toe being like very, very extra long, not human like at all. Okay, just follow the stick figure. That itself will help the most. Another one here. Okay, here's our character. So now that we have the basic shape of it all in place, right? Let's start. Let's start the next part of this, which is the inking. Okay, inking is basically just a fancy way of saying tracing. That's all. So I want all of you to okay, just finish up your drawing. Okay, but don't worry about details and all that right now. This is not the time to do details. Details come later. So cartooning happens in stages, right? In layers. First, you have the basic simple shapes to just build your object. Then after that, you build it. Then after that, you outline it into a character, which is what we have now. So there are a lot of mistakes and a lot of overdrawn lines and all of that stuff. So now we ink it so that we have a neat, perfect looking outline that's very clear. You know, that's very professional looking. So I want you all to take out your technical pens if you have them. If you don't have any technical pen, then just take out any black gel pen that you have. Black gel pen or even what do you call it? Like a ballpoint pen will also work. I'm using something that's very similar to a sketch pen. Okay. I'm not using any brush pens, Kishore. I'm not using a brush pen. It'll actually make a mess right now if you do outlining with a brush pen. What I'm using is this. It's a Figma graphic inking pen. It doesn't have any size variation here. It just looks like this. Okay, this is the tip, like a sketch pen, very much like a sketch pen. Okay. So now the thing is, okay, now please don't start off inking. Okay, just hang on. I want you to practice one thing here, which is going to really, really help so much in your artwork, and that is to use lines, okay, that go from thick to thin or thin to thick. Okay, let me just show you here. I'll give you a sample here. All right, look here. Now, this is a normal line, right? That's a normal line. What I want you to do is go either from thin to thick or thick, which means lots of pressure, and then release pressure slowly like that. These two lines are much more better to look at than this line. This line can look very boring, especially when you have hundreds of lines which are the same width, same everything, right? It looks very, very sort of plain. Not boring, but it looks plain. So, of course, this is not going to happen just randomly, just like that. You need to practice it a little bit, but it's totally fine to practice it right now. Okay, let me just quickly read a couple of things from the chat. Anshuman says, sir, please use a normal pen. Okay, so the reason why I'm using this pen is so that you can see how it works. So once you know how it works, later you can get a pen like this and try it for yourself. It's just a new skill you'll know, you know. So right now, do it with a normal pen. It's okay. And you can, by the way, get a similar effect with a normal pen. It's just about releasing the pressure and increasing the pressure. That's all. Okay. If you want a thicker or stronger line, put more pressure. If you want a thinner line, reduce the pressure. That's all. Sushmita, permanent marker is fine. You can use any marker as long as it's black and as long as it's the same, sort of type as this. You can even use a sketch pen actually if you want to. Okay, but just make sure it's not something too thick. Okay, and do not use a brush pen, please. And no, Anshuman, I'm not using a brush pen at all. Yes, you can use a gel pen. Okay, so now I'm starting. So the first thing is just the outlining, right? Please be careful with your outlining. Okay, this is the point where you need to be a little bit neat. Now, just if you want, just stop. Don't do anything right now. Just watch how I deal with the lines. Okay, just observe and see what I do with the lines and how I go from thin to thick. Thin and a little thicker. Especially with the internal face parts, right? Try and keep them generally thin only, except for certain important lines like maybe like this cheek line, which can go from thin and then end thick, thin and end thicker. Small little things like that. Otherwise, the face generally just keep it all thin, which means barely touching, okay? Barely touching there. The teeth, keep it all thin lines for the teeth. You can always come back and detail it a little better later. Okay. Now, Pooja, SV, you can do a normal line outlining if you want to. Okay, you can absolutely. But generally speaking, that very particular look that you'll see in comic books, graphic novels, things like that, right? That look only happens when you do when you do line work like this. That's why it's particularly called inking and not plain outlining, because you're taking under consideration a lot of different aspects of the line work itself. So what I'm actually trying to teach here is not just tracing; it's inking. But of course, if you just want to do the outlining itself, then you can do it that way. Not an issue. Trust me, guys, take your time with this part, okay? Really take your time with it. It will pay off so well at the end. Trust me, it will really, really look so much better. If you just take a little bit of time, a little bit of patience with just this aspect of it. And honestly, the hard part is the face. Everything else is so much easier because it's all big lines after that, right? Inside the eye, right? What I'll do here, inside the eye, I will leave one tiny little oval white. Okay. So hard part's over. That was the face. You really need to, pay attention to that part. Um, Anshuman, we do have to erase the pencil markings, but that will come later. Okay, even with these long lines, you see, it's much easier with the long lines. So I'm really taking advantage of that and making some, uh, you know, uh, some of the lines really go from thin to thick in a very, very gradual sort of. Kushal says face is coming out so nicely after inking. Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? Inking really, really makes the whole thing look just really a lot more professional. And guys, don't get stuck to just one way of doing this, like only from thick to thin. Try thin to thick. Try both ways. It's good to be kind of good at either way of trying to make these lines. So I'm doing these sort of tone off wings kind of thing. Okay, but I leave it up to you what you feel like doing. You can do your own thing, however you want to make it. Anshuman, it's absolutely fine if you don't have this kind of pen. Then just use a normal pen. Okay, and otherwise, and by the way, I also learned this method from using normal just writing pens. In fact, I learned this method from just using normal gel pens. You can actually do it. It's a little harder, but you can do it. But more than anything else, I want you to just understand the technique and see what happens. You know. Now the spikes in the middle, I'm not going to do thick at all. Okay, all of it, I'm just going to use thin pen. In fact, if I would suggest, if any of you have a separate thinner marker, like a like a Figma Micron pen or the Russo pen or anything like that, then just go for a thin marker and use that. Hi Aditi. So basically, yeah, you're a little bit late. We actually kind of already started on this character. Okay, so we've been just using so far. We've just used a pencil and paper, and this one pen that I have over here, which is just a graphic inking pen. Okay, it's just a character creation using shapes. If anybody is having any audio issues, just check your audio settings. Otherwise, just log off and log back on. You'll be able to uh, hear everything. Make it one thick line for the belt area, you know? From thin to most of it being thick. Starting thin, but most of it thick. It really gives that sense of depth. No, Aditi, the recordings are not available for workshops, but they're available for the masterclass. I would recommend you to just stay on, watch and learn from what I'm doing over here, and then at the end I'll be talking about my masterclass as well. So you can just hear that information as well. So you could just stick on for a bit. Trust me, Anshuman, it's only going to get much better from here. Okay, moving on to the legs. Remember to do those little frayed, tone up bits like this, okay? The where the cloth is torn and all that. Don't forget that. Okay, I'm just going to create a lot of kind of fabric folds, over here near the knee, right? Lots of those, sort of thin little fabric folds. That really helps. Anshuman, that is a great question. Okay, I'm just going to read it out for everyone. How can we know where we have to apply thick and thin lines? Okay, so the actual truth of this is that you put thick lines where you have decided where the shadow should be. Okay, and you put thin lines where there is light. Okay, so thicker lines will basically show a lot more shade, a lot more shadow, whereas thinner lines have lesser. That's the general rule. Okay, but here in this case, what we're trying to do is I'm just trying to introduce you to this style first. So I'm trying to keep that ideology and that aspect away because that will just unnecessarily confuse and slow down people. You can of course apply that logic later on, but that has more to do with lighting and shading, not really technique. That's to do with actually the understanding of doing artwork through lighting and shading. Some of the best artists, like the uh, people who do artwork for Batman or Daredevil comics, and basically just comic books, right? You should see their artwork. There is not a single thing that they draw that doesn't have a perfect idea of where the light and where the shade is coming from. Okay, so here's my character with its basic outlining done. Okay, this is just the basic outlining. Okay, we still have a lot of detailing to do. We still have a lot of detailing to do. So I'm just going to keep this here for a minute so that